This question does not have a line reference, and it's early in the passage, so we might be a little nervous about, where do we look? We haven't read the passage if we're using the no reading strategy. But remember that it doesn't really matter where these kinds of questions appear. If they're not the first question, then they're probably not about the entire passage. They're probably about specific lines that we just need to find. And the way we can find them is by using the chronology rule, right? So the questions are, in theory, in the order in which the answers appear in the passage. So we just had a question, number 22, that had a line reference, right? It told us to go to line 14. And then the next question, after 23, 24, tells us to go to line 27. So look, the first place that I would look here is somewhere between line 14 and line 27, which is down here. So I might even start a little bit before and go a little bit after just to include those extra sentences, but that's my starting point. And if the answer's not there, then fine, I can always read more. But why read more when we don't have to, right? If we can get the answer from these lines, then good, we've saved time. So what are we looking for, right? We want to make sure we're reading with purpose. So we want to make sure specifically that we are aware of what we're trying to find as we read. And they're talking about an attribute of conventional agriculture. Well, luckily this whole paragraph is about conventional agriculture. So what do they repeat as we go through? But change the conversation to food and suddenly efficiency doesn't look so good. Conventional industrial agriculture has become incredibly efficient on a simple land-to-food basis. Thanks to fertilizers, mechanization, and irrigation, each American farmer feeds over 155 people worldwide, so feeds 155. Conventional farming gets more and more crop per square foot of cultivated land, over 170 bushels of corn per acre in Iowa, for example, which can mean less territory needs to be converted from wilderness to farmland. And since a third of the planet is already used for agriculture, destroying forests and other wild habitats along the way, anything that could help us produce more food on less land would seem to be good for the environment. Of course, that's not how most environmentalists regard their arugula, a leafy green. They've embraced organic food as better for the planet and healthier and tastier too. But see, now we're getting into organic food, right? We want conventional, and so we can see that we're drifting. But now we can also use a dumb summary. What kind of came up again and again? There's a lot of statistics in those lines, but I don't care about the specific narrow points that they're making. I'm more interested in the big picture point that they're making. What are they saying? Well, it produces more food, right? And uses less land. That's like, it kind of says that. More food, less land is kind of where they say at the end, but it's not just that they say those exact words, it's that those exact ideas are repeated again and again. So now we go to the choices and we see, is there anything that kind of matches with our expectations of what this answer is going to be? Does it produce a wide variety of fruits and vegetables? I'm sure it does, but I don't care because it doesn't talk about that in these lines. So I don't care about the different fruits and vegetables it makes. It talks about corn, but that's it. That's all I really get from this. It maximizes the output of cultivated land. So the words are different, but land output, we're clearly talking about how much food we get. So that seems pretty good. It's not a dead-on match, but it's pretty close to what we guessed it would be. Let's see if there's anything that's better. C, satisfy the dietary needs of the world's population. Well, that would mean that they're producing a lot of food. But that's taking it a step too far, right? It says that conventional agriculture produces more food, but there's a big difference between producing more food and producing enough food, right? So we have to be careful with those kinds of strong words. Satisfy here is a very strong word. We're not getting that from this passage. And then D, lessen the necessity of nitrogen in plant growth. Well, they didn't talk about nitrogen at all, so that's obviously wrong. And that leaves me with B, which is the answer. And this is another common tactic that the SAT uses. They take the ideas and the words from the passage, and then they use different words, synonyms, to kind of put that same idea into the choices. And so we shouldn't expect the exact words that we saw to appear in the choices. Sometimes we get lucky and it does. Other times that's a trap. And so what we're really making sure is that the idea is consistent, not necessarily the words. But yeah, this did not require us to read the entire passage. It really just required maybe, 10 or 15 lines for us to read, which we can get by using the chronology rule and being aware of the surrounding questions and at least using them to start looking for the answer. And most of the time, that's all you'll need.